in those 24 years, they've led you to today, where you're global head of AI, data science, and financial technology, FinTech at Korn Ferry. And if people don't know Korn Ferry, it is one of the world's biggest recruitment firms. You probably know exactly the stats, but there's like a few of these absolutely gigantic companies, and Korn Ferry recruitment companies, and Korn Ferry is one of them. So at Korn Ferry, you lead executive search and leadership consulting for strategic AI, data, and analytics leaders across industries. Wow, that sounds relevant to our audience. You advise clients on talent management, succession planning, diversity and inclusion, and organizational design. And so this is just, yeah, you're an unbelievable person to have on the episode. So let me actually get to a question. So as recruitment becomes increasingly technology driven, particularly AI driven in recent
Mhm.
years, how should executive search firms evolve their relationship building strategies with clients, with candidates, in order to maintain an authentic human element and fair evaluation? While also trying to leverage data and AI to get those efficiencies.
Yeah, it's a really great topic of conversation that's happening now in the job market, and honestly, there's so many different elements to this when it comes to recruiting in general. How are the firms handling it from an executive search or assessment or recruiting perspective? How are employers handling it in terms of what AI tools are they using to assess candidates? And how are candidates using these tools to get on top of the pile when they are, searching for jobs? So there's so many different things that are happening in the market. So I'll kind of break it down in a couple of different ways. I think every client that I talk to under the sun wants to understand AI. They want to use AI, whether it's to recruit talent, whether it's to increase productivity, whether it's to optimize in some way, shape, or form the way that AI is being embedded in their organization, right? So AI is a topic. I would say, when you look at the graph, right? Like it's on the vertical and it's on the horizontal. They want to use it everywhere and anywhere. What does that mean for candidates in the job market? There was an interesting stat that had come across my desk recently. So, John, there's almost a billion people on LinkedIn. Um, Pre AI tools and I'm talking about the candidate side. When a LinkedIn job post went up, roughly 250 applicants would apply to that job. Post AI tools, because a lot of the candidates that are tech savvy, are now utilizing it to chat GPT their resume to really pass through these ATS systems. So that number went 10x, right? So now there's
Wow.
2,500 people per application. Now, both sides are being burdened. So, coming back to sort of the origin of your question around what are companies going to look for and what do candidates need to do, I think the big question is how are candidates going to jump off of their black and white resume or their digital resume into a more authentic, you know, deliverable to actually showcase themselves in front of these clients for the jobs that they want? My view and where I want to be very disruptive in this space, because I've been in it for 25 years or 24 years, is that I think the next gen is going to be video. I really believe that. And I think that, looking at platforms like LinkedIn, they're trying it and it hasn't been as successful for them. So they're doing it in a different way. They're trying to get the thought leadership on video. They're trying to do all these feed, they're trying to embed it in the feed. So they're about the feed as opposed to the person. And I think that's where a lot of, you know, people that are on the market and employers, leaders that are trying to attract talent are going to have to see talent differently and assess talent differently.
Yeah. If listeners were listening and thinking, "Oh, I wish I had an auto applying AI tool," we've dug some up here. So I've got two GitHub repos that I'll put in the show notes. One of them has 22,000 stars, and it's called the Auto Jobs Applier. It's from something called the AI Hawk app. And so I've got a link to that one for you in the show notes. I've also got the Easy Apply Jobs Bot, which is another GitHub repo. It only has 500 stars, but could be worth checking out as an alternative. And then we've also got a couple click and point tools for people out there who don't necessarily use kind of GitHub and code. We got Job Copilot and Lazy Apply. So you too can be contributing to that 10xing of of applicants to jobs. And do you think that that makes sense from the perspective of the candidate, Deepali? Do you think that people should be taking advantage of these tools, or do you think it's just too much? It's just spray and pray. Do you think they should be more targeted?
So, as an executive search consultant and as sort of a de facto career coach, I'm going to lean towards no. And the reason why I say no is actually I'll walk that back a bit. I probably have a 1 and 1A answer to that. Um, John, you've seen in the last 18 to 24 months within Silicon Valley and I probably even broadly a lot of layoffs. I mean, we've been in the layoff game for quite a while now. In fact, my TikTok went viral because I started talking about layoffs, and I didn't want to just be the layoff reporting czar, but that's kind of where I, got notoriety for whatever reason. But I'm bringing the real news of the job market. So yes, there have been a lot of really highly talented people that have been laid off, and the stigma around layoffs, they start to panic and they need to apply to everything in order to land a job. So, part one of that question is, can you use those tools to be more effective and productive in your job applications? Yes. The answer is yes there. Right? If you want to 10x because you're at home and you need to apply to a certain amount of jobs and it's a numbers game and you need to get in front of these employers, yes, do it. I think that the folks that have the ability to be more discerning about their job search need to think about how they're going to show up differently than those chat GPT wrapped resumes, right? Because they all start to look the same at some point. And what's happening with these tools is you're able to download the job spec, you're able to upload your resume, you're able to match those keywords so you get past the ATS systems. That's effective if your resume wasn't getting picked up. More power to you. I totally agree with that. But then now you're going to have to jump through another hoop. And so there are things that you're going to have to do to show where those soft skills are more transferable.
And ATS is a term that you and I know very well. But
Oh,
if
yes,
you're
sorry.
and if you're an executive or a recruiter, you would know it as well. But if you're a candidate, you might not. It stands for Applicant Tracking System, and it's a typically click and point tool that has these days lots of built-in AI bells and whistles with things for automatically based on keywords that show up in there, uh, surfacing some of the applicants to the top.